All right, let's call this meeting to order at 11:04 a.m. for the Macdonald Avenue Corridor Task Force. The agenda was sent out last Friday, posted and sent out last Friday. And item number 2 is the roll call. Mayor Martinez, absent.
He's coming in right now.
Okay, never mind, I'll hold. They didn't know. Okay, this first.
I don't normally see them in yours. Please. We can be there. Don't worry.
No, I'll just continue with roll for the next. Councilmember Jimenez,
Presente.
Director Whitmore,
Here.
Director Wally.
Here.
Okay. Oh, Vice Mayor. Vice Mayor Robinson. And Mayor Martinez.
Is here, is up. So. Everybody.
We're at item number 2, so I'll hold for a second.
Yeah.
Everyone's up.
I saw Dory just was coming, she said that she's speeding hills, so I thought I'd go to hear man.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Doria.
21-year-old.
Yeah.
Forever 21.
I just called the meeting to order at 11:04. So, let me just go and do roll call again. Mayor Martinez here, Vice Mayor Robinson
Here.
and then Councilmember Jimenez, Director Whitmore, and Director Wall have already acknowledged. So we do have quorum to take action on any items on the agenda. So we are now on to item number 3.
Okay, agenda review and adoption. So do we have any changes? Anyone? If not, then let's move on to the next item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City staff report. I only have pretty much just one item for an update for the task force. One pending item I have is the bylaws that we had discussed previous meetings. We are working on the draft version to provide to the task force for review and approval. Other than that, June, any other staff report? Okay, staff report is done.
So the bylaws have been looked at and.
But I'm currently drafting it with the
Okay.
addition of a couple of additional items that was requested by the task force.
Okay.
So that'll be adopted along with, or presented along with the standard committee files.
Okay.
Yep.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I do have a question around. So we're anticipating on bringing forward 3 new task force members. There are no bylaws that establish sort of, if it's a regular commission, we'll say term expires so-and-so, which is laid out by the clerk's office. So I need a little bit of clarification. Do we want to go forward with saying something like term expires at the conclusion of the task force? Does that sound like good language for us?
That's hard though, because what if we decide to extend the task force after we finish the report, which is still open and a possibility? We would want to.
But can we say something about this task force will expire, like it's planned to be on that, but with some potential time to extend it? I don't know, like.
Maybe we should say, because we plan on it expiring in a year, that it's a year-long term and with the opportunity to renew.
Yeah.
So then if we actually do expire and the task force goes away, then they go away, everyone goes away. And but if we don't, then they can renew.
Okay, so it'll expire at the sort of sunsetted date we've decided on, but there's an opportunity to renew. Okay.
If the task force.
Yeah, well, we can always do that, during the course of
Yeah.
of our
I think it
existence.
is good though to have an actual limit.
Yeah, okay. So that takes us to, the next, item, presentations, discussions, and,
Oh, number 5, public comments.
oh, fine, I'm sorry, yes.
Back here. So good morning, Mayor Martinez, task force members. For the record, I am Cordell Handler and I'm a Richmond resident. So I have 2 good pieces of good news. So number 1, everyone's invited to the Contra Costa Mayor's Conference on February the 5th at the City of Richmond Country Club. And I've already RSVP'd ahead, so there will be some good food. If you think the samples are good today, wait till you see what the country club has up their sleeve. And it's only $80 a person, so dinner, drink, and water. And that's among other things. And then that's one. Then coming up 2 days after that, the Richmond Community Foundation is having their gala at the Berkeley Country Club from 5:30 to 10. And it's only $250 a pop. That includes champagne. It's gonna be so good too. Please do attend. It's wonderful. And then I am so glad that we're gonna finally have some new members to come on board. So it's been like a process. So hopefully that we have some new folks coming on board at some point. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Any others?
Any other public comments?
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Samantha Torres. I'm here on behalf of the Richmond United Soccer Club, a 30-year-old all-volunteer nonprofit youth soccer organization serving Richmond families. I'm excited to hear about the Main Street Initiative Task Force, and I'm especially encouraged by the interest in activating the vacant lots on Macdonald and 12th. 3 years ago, I brought a proposal to the mayor to temporarily use these vacant lots for youth soccer programming. At the time, it was declined due to a pending agreement with the developer, and these lots remain vacant today, so I am renewing our interest. These spaces could be activated immediately to serve the community with temporary soccer programming. This would align with the FIFA World Cup coming up this summer. They will bring hundreds of youth and family daily, creating positive activity, safety, and connection along the corridor. This activation would also directly support existing programming at the MVP lot on Tuesdays and Thursdays, helping create consistent, coordinated community use across Macdonald Avenue. So I'm requesting the support of the Main Street Initiative to allow temporary use of the vacant lots on Macdonald Avenue between 11th, 12th, and 13th Streets, starting with soccer programming through a City Council approved MOU or a no or low cost land use agreement. The Richmond United Soccer Club already operates at the highest standards required for club soccer. We are actively applying for grants and foundation funding to keep our programs affordable and accessible. What we need now is land access that allows us to operate without displacing other sports, disrupting city programs, or relying on parks maintenance. A temporary space can help alleviate the burden of field shortages until the development plans begin at these lots. I respectfully request that the task force agendize a presentation by the Richmond United Soccer Club at your next meeting so we can share our proposal in more detail and discuss the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? No. No, in that case, we'll move on to the next item. The approval of the meeting minutes. Do we have, as people look up the meetings minutes, are they ready to, make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second? I'll second. Yes. Motion by.
Thank you. There's been a motion second for approval of the regular meeting minutes from January 13th. Mayor Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilmember Jimenez,
Yes.
Director Whitmore,
Yes.
Director Wally.
Yes.
All right, all approved. Thank you.
Fantastic. Now we get to the part I was trying to get to, the presentations, discussions, and action items. So priority sites, technical assistance. Who's the next recommendation?
So this was an item, through the chair, this was an item requested at the last meeting, as agendized, just to discuss the presentation, from the last task force meeting. So I guess this is an open-ended discussion point for the task force.
I think the idea was that they brought up a lot of really compelling ideas, but we never actually got a chance to say, well, what do we think of them?
Right,
Right. So, do we want to like refresh our memory on what I think the long and the short of it is that currently, due to market conditions, no housing driven solution is viable, financially viable during at the current moment.
I think I will say that one of the things that they were saying is that know the kind of density that we would like to see because there is some potential viable solutions, but in a really low density that is not what
Yeah.
we.
But I think even the townhouse version, which was the one that was generally viable, was like very little profit margin rate, very little benefit even to the developer.
Yeah.
So it's not super attractive, right? And so they presented a few alternative scenarios that focus on kind of it's not even there. There are alternative scenarios like
What is possible now?
Are they reflected in the documents?
maybe it was in their revised version of the presentation that they did last minute. Because I thought that they had the examples of the different arts complexes and recreation complexes, and I don't see those here. Was that?
We'll circle back with them.
Yeah.
Because this is what they sent us.
That was just on their fire one.
Yeah, on the screen, there was some other examples that they gave at different locations. One of them was like kind of a recreation complex. One was around like an art center.
Yeah.
One was around like food and kind of temporary food markets and things like that. And then I think that's what I was hoping we would discuss is like is there a pathway there that we would be interested in?
Yes, please.
So I think like for me, I am having a little hard time to grab my idea of not having housing because there's such a need of housing. But I remember Eudoria saying, well, is that we need to look at the whole. You see, so I think for me, before I said let's do other things in that particular lot, to have this strategic planning and say like, this is how many housing units we can overall, and it doesn't need or like so we can start thinking about the overall plan because I really want to see more units of housing and particularly downtown area. I feel like we want to revitalize downtown. One of the great things, not the only thing, but the great things that will help us is to have more units of housing of different income levels. So I don't know, like if we can have that discussion just for these and for me it would be hard trying to say, well, I know that like there is opportunities with the East Bay Community Center. What is the story that we want to tell? But if it's more kind of like visionary, then it will be easier for me to have this conversation about what I want to see in that particular plan.
I'm a bit confused as to how we can reach our state housing quota if we can't even afford to build housing downtown. I mean, are we letting economics dictate what the city is going to look like? Would it be possible to build housing along the waterfront? I mean, exactly where can housing pencil out if they can't pencil out downtown?
Well, I'll add a little bit to this particular consultant scope which was an isolated scope. It was a very quick scope. And it was focused specifically just on this lot, and it was separated because they were already in motion before we had our task force. So they were isolated in the lot, and our task force is a totality of a larger master plan that reaches from 8th up to 23rd. And a few things that happened during that presentation was our opportunity to be looking at the entire master plan and developable lands, which is critical. Also the ability for us to, we're working on some policy carve outs on surplus land. And then, in addition, the opportunity for large and small scale development. So while they were looking at one lot, they also didn't take into consideration, not that they have the charge for that, but leveraging city assets. What do incentive programs look like? And so what was a larger pool of market developers, right? Because we do have developers all over the Bay Area. So it was an isolated scope, and we progressed further, and we see that in our RFP, which is the larger plan with housing, with mixed use, with entertainment, to be able to get us where we need to be, and also do a depth into the housing requirements.
I think that what it's pointing to me is that, one, I do feel like we should really consider this opportunity to create a there in our downtown, like a reason to come. I like that kind of thematic approach, and that we would want to use one of the places that we have to really make a concerted impact. But along with that, maybe we should be asking our contractor, the consultant, and Lena, what is the target amount of new units we're trying to develop downtown? Like, what is that number, And what we could do is prioritize, think about all of the different spaces we have available and figure out, proximity to things and whatnot, to try to understand where that target number of units could be in the downtown area. Because we need units not only generally because we need units, but we also need units to drive economic activity. So I don't think we can imagine a successful downtown without new housing. But what we need to do is figure out what that target is. Is that 1,000 units? Is that 1,500 units? Is that 500 units? Like, I don't know. And maybe what we want to do is actually ask Nina your question there, which is, what is the amount they had in the plan that they told the state? Because they had 12th Street in there before. What was that number? Is there another number we need to think about, especially as we pull away from developing along the shoreline, and then make that our target number, and then so we incorporate that as we look at all of the spaces available.
Good. Councilman got her hand up.
No, but you go, because I already so.
Okay, I agree with all the above, but one thing I didn't think they took into account is the intermodal. No other city has what we have. No other city. And that's a big selling point for people all over the Bay Area. Sacramento catching I used to catch the Capitol Corridor 2 or 3 times a week. And people just need to know that that's a huge selling point. So I think by giving up housing that we really need, there has to be a way that we can kind of have mixed use housing plus arts and culture all downtown. Because people there, we want people with disposable income that can come outside and spend money downtown. So I think there's a way that we can do it, but I think it would be good to get back to Lena just to see what the target is, because we have to have some housing downtown.
And just maybe to add on to that, it would be the target what they had before that they told the state, as well as any other displacements that are happening because we're not moving forward with certain projects, So they were counting on those units as well. If those units aren't happening, then maybe we need to make sure that they happen somewhere downtown. Which is in many ways much better, right? It's right on the corridor and it would help bring life to the downtown. Yeah.
I think like for me, like what the plan presents a really opportunity to dream big about what we can do in the downtown. I think like yes, we can ask Lina, and what I imagined Lina was talking about was looking at this potential lot that we have and how many units. But we are talking here potentially to create new lots, right? And to have other visions. So in that sense, is not just about the lots, it's about what we are going to create. And I think like that is the conversation that I would like to have for the RFP. And the other thing that we are talking is that this preliminary financial analysis was good to kind of like ground us on like what is the market right now. But this is the same old market, and what we are trying to also do here is a new way of financing housing, because I don't think we are going to get out of in that vision if we continue let the market to drive us, because it hasn't worked. Lina told us that it hasn't worked. So I think like that is what also we need to do, is to try to envision. And I think like what Eduardo's saying, are we going to let us
Let the market
let the market
say the
determine? So and I think like there is a tremendous opportunity in Richmond right now, because our progressive leadership has been really good with finances, right? And we are in a tremendous opportunity to really think about what new financing mechanisms are there that we can partner and we can be part of to really move the needle into what we want, not what the Wall Street want. So
Exactly. It's master planning with creative financing, and if you drive it through what the city desires, there'll be a match for those that are going to build the brick and mortar.
And we also need to start exploring new financial instruments.
Yeah.
Like we're doing in San Francisco with the tax districts.
Yep.
Maybe include that in the RFP, the exploration of
I put it in.
financial did.
yeah, let's sorry.
Yes, because many cities, they just launched in San Francisco. The product development has 2 housing projects in the city with creative financing created to tax districts. So just like that, there's creative financing, and the entire infrastructure will be built from that. So many cities are doing it, and it's for us to be able to tap into those and do some investigation to San Jose, Santa Clara, San Francisco. They just did this last week.
And we have a really beautiful story to tell in downtown Richmond, like the blues. Like, can we bring the blues in? You know?
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. I don't know.
Well, okay. Is there any more that we want to take from? The only other thing I would say is that it would be really cool to make sure that as part of the consultants, that they take us deeper into the examples they gave to understand.
I found,
I got
through the chair, I found.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are the slides. Cultural uses.
Right. Right.
Market Hall and East Bay Corner. Richmond.
Right. We don't have to take any of this off the shelf. We could
Yeah.
kind of think about the ideas. It'd be cool though to look at actual places in the world that have done this. And what exactly that they did and how are they successful or not successful, is it working?
And the other thing, I think we should think of it modularly. I mean, if we do an arts corridor without housing, is it possible to put housing in afterwards?
Right. Oh, that was the other idea I had. So one of the things that I really been thinking a lot about with the downtown corridor is how there's no center. Like if you wanted to have salsa outside.
The plaza.
Where would you do that? There is no place currently where you could actually have people gather for such a thing, a concert, dance classes in the summer, like there isn't such a place. So that was the other thing that I really thought about. I was like, these core properties right in the center there, that we have to include some kind of a gathering center, where you could actually host these things. Because right now we shut down the street, right? Because there's no other place to have people gather in large numbers. But we should actually have a center. There should be a center, and around that, then things like cafes and other things that prosper because people will gather and then they'll want to come. Or they want some food, or they want to meet their friends. But without that center, we don't have the actual architectural structure to encourage people to use the space.
You want to go.
And along those lines, I've tried to think of our plaza here as a cultural center. Except it's been really difficult to finance doing it, I've had different organizations wanting to do, let's say, like the Tibetan community wanting to do dances every Friday afternoon, to showcase Tibetan dance. And the cost was too much for them to do it. And so if we could start having cultural events here when downtown is built, it could migrate to downtown. So it's not like, just starting them from scratch. It would be a migration.
That's great. And the cost is so expensive because of our permits or because of
permits and some security and all the
Insurance.
insurance, all those things.
Yeah.
So the question is, if we have that in there, what will be the price tag of having events in the plaza?
Right.
So these are just things we need to consider and find solutions to.
Right. Address like the barriers that permitting has for people using public spaces.
Well, we can, so in that sense, I am working with the art community to get in, so we might be learning from that experience and might be model to have a better feeder schedule. Basically, it's a feeder schedule, the procurement process, and the procurement process is more with the insurance. So we can learn from that. I will be happy to to bring what we learned from that experience to here.
And just I mean, we're talking long distance. I'd like for us to also focus on the present. The FIFA is coming to the Bay Area, and we should start thinking about setting up large screens at the lot or other places to start bringing people downtown so they can start experiencing the Richmond that they've been missing.
I think on the next agenda, we could talk, we're wanting to talk about short-term uses. And we can add in, the presentation, we could add in, this idea, this other ideas, things that we could do. Short-term, it was short-term uses as well as short-term solutions, like addressing blight, addressing, the trash, addressing some of the other problems that people complain about. But that would be on the next meeting.
Okay. So in which item are we on?
Still on A, right?
7A? Okay.
I think that's, unless people have anything more to say about the presentation, I think we all the ideas.
Yeah, I think, are you ready to move on?
Yes, and it will also be part of the RFP, whoever the consultant is that's chosen. They will be also doing this research and adding in a whole host of historical 20-year reports.
So, but I just wanted to ask, are these particular consultants going to do more work or this is it? Because what I heard from Councilmember Robinson is that it would be good to have some of these analysis of other places and how they are working. Can they do that because it's part of their contract or not, or they just finished? Where we are?
Through the chair, that's the discussion for the RFP. We can add.
No, but we already have these other consultants doing these analysis. Did they finish with this? Is that or?
I will have to take that back to Lena because this was specific to the MTC and the transit oriented community, TOC.
How much we are spending on this?
It was a grant.
It was a grant by the MTC, so.
And how much with what?
Oh, that's a good question. I will get that.
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
Yeah, it was a grant that was happening before we even formed the task force, and they were already off and running.
Yeah.
And we asked them to come and, share their information with us. That helps so the processes can inform each other, but they already had like parameters and, it's based on the grant conditions and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's move to the downtown Richmond walking tours. All right, I would assume that that's.
As a recap, we've had 3 walking tours. We started with the
Small Business Week.
Small Business Week. And then we
Second
had
one was
the
October.
exactly, we had our assembly members, and that was in September. And then we had the senator come for a walking tour on December 18th. All 3 times we had great attendance with our elected officials. We also had television. We had hours with the senator. We had meeting discussion at Peace Space Center. We were able to formulate with there's office, city manager's office, our council members. We formulated the ask, which is what we call it. So we had some soft asks and some legislative asks regarding surplus properties and doing some carve out. We did some back study work with a member, Assembly Member Wicks's team, Stephen, to give us some information about what carve outs can look like. And we had not only very successful tours, we've provided the asks, which were short-term asks. So what we do in the short term, funding, financing, and small opportunities. And then what it looks like legislatively, and importantly, what it looks like for what we like to call creative funding and financing. Right? We know about tax credits, but what are the other mechanisms? We know there's a bond bill coming up. So what are those things as part of our strategic task force and team that we can delve into on creative funding and financing and opportunities to match what we are looking at for the desired outcome? We at our last meeting, we had Gabe here from the senator's office, and they were going to craft some legislation asks and be able to get that in by the first part of February. And that's around surplus lands adjustments. And that's my summary for our elected officials walking tours. I might add that we are doing walking tours every month, 4th Thursday of every month at 10:30.
Go ahead, Lori.
I'd love to just talk a little bit about the things that really worked well on the current tour, and then ways that we might, do things a little bit better or stronger. If folks are willing to kind of share, maybe we start with the strengths, like what's working really well currently, and then go through some of the things that we maybe do a little bit better. I do feel like you always prove that it's good to have that reflection time. So I'm gonna throw out there that the strengths that I felt like is the stop at the East Bay Center. And
before you go there, I'm sorry, can you tell me like what are the goals of the walking tour so I can?
I mean, in my mind, the goals of the walking tour is to pull in support and resources to help us move the project from revitalizing the downtown board, right? So we want to get people who are in positions to change policy or to, connect us to resources or even attract the kind of developers that want to attract ultimately, who would be partners in this, not just, doing their own little project and not thinking about the wider vision. Like we want to make sure that people who are interacting in that space are embracing this wider vision. That's what I would think. I don't know if anybody would add anything else to that, but that
Exposure.
was that
It's about exposure.
exposure.
Yeah. I think, we want to inspire our residents.
Yeah.
To understand the treasures that we have there
Right.
and get them excited about
Right.
the corridor projects that we have in mind.
Right. So again, just going back to strengths, I felt like the strength is stopping at the East Bay Center because it shows a couple of things. It shows a downtown jewel that not everybody, even to this day, still don't know it exists. But it also shows how restoring a historic building adds to capacity and adds to the ability to actually serve residents and create like a destination, which I think is really important to connect. Is not only to connect a successful restoration of a downtown space and what energy and life it brought to it. On the flip side, in terms of challenges, is that I think that we could do a better job of highlighting some of the other gyms that are downtown, like stopping by Diego's Place or stopping by Bistro or something to say that there are other jewels that are kind of here that if they had more, people, traffic, that they could thrive, right? That we have small businesses that are actually worth coming to. But they need more things. I think that like highlighting some of the other jewels would be a great stretch. And then finally, I'm going to say that I do feel like it's really, really important to walk to and be in the 12th Street project area so people could really see how big it is and how central it is. I do feel like we should spend more time on Macdonald Avenue instead of Nevin. I think Nevin is great, but it's not, in my mind, the economic driver space, that we need to focus on. So I would have us kind of change the tour to be like more on Macdonald. Then so there's my input.
Anyone else? Comments? No.
Is there, I'm sorry, okay. Is there any way, any other, tours planned for the place?
Yes, every fourth Thursday at 10:30 in the morning. And we announced it on our social media, City of Richmond's picked it up. And so whomever comes, as we get a little more traction here, I'll be inviting developers to come. So it's about building exposure as we settle in. We've got a good ask. We have an RFP, so we know our master plan area. We know our vision, and as we go working through the leverage opportunities, it will be a great opportunity to have the feet on the street right there in downtown. And absolutely, it will change the tour up to be Macdonald driven and also be the strategic area driven. Right before there was a lot of focus, which is why this MTC was isolated to 12, but because we are Parkway to 23rd and 8th to 23rd and Bissell to Barrett, really getting that main flow of Macdonald is critical because that is where what we like to call anchors, assets, features, and benefits, they're all right there. But between transportation and the streets and the infrastructure and the anchor businesses, so that's what is holding us together.
Yeah, actually, gotta say what I was gonna say. Is that I think what we need to do is have developers there sooner than later. So we get a real reality check of what they're thinking. We have the one report, but let's see what when I'm in meetings in Oakland, people asking me, developers ask, what's going on in Richmond? So let's invite some developers here to find out what they're thinking about downtown Richmond.
I agree, but I think we need to have a vision of what we want, and the question we ask them is, how can you make this a reality?
Mhm.
You know, instead of having them telling us, oh, we'd love to
Right.
do this, we'd love to do that.
Yeah.
So that we can get the Richmond deserves.
Yeah.
And that is our heart, is
Yes.
what's our vision, and then how do we leverage that to actually get that built?
Right.
Because it can be built through all of these mechanisms that are available.
And I also want to acknowledge that people have noticed the walks and them asking, what was that about?
Mhm.
So I think it's good that we actually have people downstairs, downtown looking at it, because it brings eyes to our project.
Yeah.
So if that's the end of it.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, please.
I would love to have a graphic designer look at the handouts and really lay them out very nicely, you know? I know that we have some in there, they're great, but I think they could be better. I don't know if we have a budget for that. I don't know if there's budget within the economic development department to have a graphic designer lay out. Or if we have somebody on call, we don't have to go through some exhaustive process to do that.
I think my office would be willing to fill that need.
Yeah, maybe Tony working with Sarah, because it's sort of like we could choose some better fonts, we could have a little bit more space, just so that it really looks just kind of tight, professional, polished, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tom.
All right, then we'll move on to the next item. That was a great suggestion. Richmond City Center.
The property broker came here from Los Angeles on Friday, and we took a opportunity with Jessen and June to meet with him, talk about what's happening. There is no movement on subletting the Walgreens space. However, the restoration company was there, so hopefully the repairs will start to happen.
Is that property, is not full scope, right? It's not-
Yes, that's the Empire Shopping Center.
Okay.
It is for sale still. Not serious interest. It's pricey. And the property is half acre.
How much are they asking for it?
21 million?
I'm a little under 24.
Oh, okay, thank you very
A little
much.
under 24.
Under 24?
A little under 24.
Oh, got it. A little under.
So, the conditions of the property haven't changed. Luckily, they do have a landscape company, so they're using our local Rubicon. They are extending out the infrastructural repairs, such as the repaving of the shopping center. We hope that might happen in the spring. There's not a lot of activity to lease the vacant spots. They have vacant spots from 1,500 square feet to 4,000 square feet, and the Walgreens space, which is 10,000 square feet. The challenge with the shopping center is Walgreens pays the rent, so the rent roll is pretty hefty. So the few vacancies they have don't have a sense of urgency at the moment. It is listed on the multiple listing service, and there potential that the grants that are the facade improvements, the small businesses are going to make application. Of course, they'll do it individually. So we hope that that will brighten up the place. If they're successful, of course, they have to go through the process. But as a status, as of Friday, it's for sale without a lot of interest.
Can
Yeah, good.
I, so if I don't know if it makes sense, but like, is the idea that somebody bought it and have further Richmond, because I think that that development is showing that doesn't work for the, it doesn't work because it doesn't have a front.
It's an old style, you know.
So I
1960s.
was wondering if like why we are putting money into renovating the facades of this place if we might be thinking that it can be torn down and rebuilt another thing. So I would rather to put that money into facades that we know that are going to be permanent, there.
I'm in
Then-
full agreement with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because I feel like it would be ideally that like a new development that has like a front, like I think like in urbanism, I'm an architect and I studied that. These kind of developments where there is parking lot, and then is behind the parking lot is the facade. It doesn't work, it doesn't revitalize, it's a lot of concrete. So, and one of the things that I think I heard from some people here is that like we need more from kind of like buildings to make
Street friendly.
a street friendly, right? So, yeah, that was my only question because I had like, yeah.
Good, and currently it is privately owned and the businesses have leases and. You know, they're trying to upgrade their small business, whether it be the pizza place or the taco place and. You know, in the short term, well, they do have their extended leases. Whatever can be done, you know, through their process, but. To be seen what can happen with that property, it is an old style architecture, much like Hilltop Plaza, where parking in the front, building in the back. And we're looking at what's more modern style, which is development on front on the main street.
And actually, modern is old. I mean, well,
Yeah. Nowadays.
yeah, I think we should look into ways that cities work with private developers to create a city that works for everyone.
This is
Yeah.
along the line that I was thinking, I was like, could the city, one, do some research on the kind of developers who have done projects that are collaborative in other cities around the nation, who we might want to work with, figure out who those developers might be, and see if we can attract them. You've already done that. See if we can attract them to Richmond. And then can we host like a tour that's specific to that property to be like, you know, this is something that sells. You know, we're looking for people who would like to dream into not only this property, but this whole space and really make something, you know, that everyone will look at as an example of.
When I was at one of the League of Cities meetings, I was downstairs at the bazaar. And I met some developers who are actually community centered. I mean, when I told them about Richmond and my ideas, you know, they said, "Oh, we'd love to work with you." So maybe they should put their, you know, send their name to you so that you can inquire and see whether or not there might be some way to elicit their input.
Yeah, I would even like to say, sorry, I can go after you.
Oh, yeah, I should go pick up Melinda Kaiser just called, so she had a procedure this morning. So they called, so don't get her.
So I would think that we should really put together such a list, because I think that we need to not limit ourselves
Right, yeah.
to people who only work in the Bay Area, or people who only work on these kinds of projects, or people that we already know, but really look out into the world.
Yeah.
And like, who's been doing exciting projects? Where are there exciting places that we like? Like, there's some really amazing things that have been happening, like in Atlanta. Who did that? You know, who revised that? I forgot the name of the building that's near high rise there, but you know, it's a pretty substantial, like, you know, project. Like, who's doing that? And then maybe we can come up with a list of folks and just say, well, it doesn't hurt to ask, do you want to come look at this?
Yeah.
You know, we are in the Bay Area, you know, even though we're not San Francisco or Oakland, we're in the Bay Area, we've got all these assets. Maybe somebody with some vision, you know, could help us make our visions happen.
Precisely, one of the things we suggested at the last meeting concurrently, because we have a time sensitivity. And thank you, Councilman President, that our RFP wants to go out. We want to see a draft, but concurrently, there's many things. So one of them is, what does an incentive package look like? What are other cities doing as incentiviers? We have great examples all around us in the Bay Area of what are cities doing to leverage their assets and come up with creative financing. Also developer lists, right? Whether it's other master plan developments throughout the country that are happening, right? It's easily transferable. And we're also looking at, again, concurrently, what does the legislative funding and or policy look like, so that we're doing all of these in parallel as we're going with our consultant on the next topic to develop that master plan, strategic plan. So we are building our information as we go. And as we start to add in, as Councilmember Robinson suggested, there's many developers we can think of. I can think of 20 that are doing this type of stuff. And so how do we add them in? And then, you know, as we start getting our refined talking points, we have conversations, we see what they're building. Right, they're all building, so it's not as if Richmond's a no build zone.
Right, but we want to make sure that whoever we choose is able to understand our vision and you know, add to it, as opposed to what some other developers are doing.
Precisely, but that's part of it, right? I mean, oftentimes when you come with a fairly good faith plan, if developers aren't necessary, and you bring funding, financing, incentive opportunities.
Yeah.
So it's a great collaboration, and there probably can be a couple of developers.
I think that maybe what this is translating to is once we get a little bit further down the line, that we host these, you know, we reach out, we want to create a list of these particular kinds of developers and projects to we host and invite that particular group to come and see and dream with us, kind of a thing, and have a very, you know, well produced tour, right? That invites them into this.
Exactly. You're right. Exactly.
Can I, like, it's already 11:57 and I really want to talk about the RFP.
Yeah.
So-
Yes.
Let's get on to it.
Okay. That's fine. We end it on it.
Yes, through the mayor, we end at 12 o'clock. This is an hour scheduled meeting. Did you want to continue or did you want to?
I think we should continue and to do the RFP. And then after that, we'll be done.
I believe a motion that is required in a second.
I know that we discussed the RFP and then adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Councilman Jimenez, seconded by the mayor. Mayor Martinez.
Actually, it was,
Okay, Director Wally, second by Director Wally. So the motion to extend the meeting to discuss item 7D, the RFP. Mayor Martinez,
yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilman Jimenez,
Yes.
Director Whitmore is absent, Director Wally.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion passed. So now if I may.
Yes, please.
So item 7D is the RFP. So that was sent out last Tuesday, 20th. Included in the items was comments made by Director Wally in regards to the RFP. So staff is now ready to receive comments and receive direction.
For you.
So one thing that Nanette said last time is that we may want to consider creating rather than an RFP, which people respond to and then somebody wins the kind of contract, but rather an RFQ, so that it has like a slightly different project, right? Like,
No, I apologize, through the chair. So the RFQ that Nanette was referring to was for Tulsa Macdonald specifically. And the
oh, this is for
This is for the
the
revitalization strategy.
Okay.
So this is the
okay.
one where Director Whitmore had asked for the list of approved economic analysis folks.
Authority.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I always. Okay, we'll do.
Go ahead.
So yes, so the RFP was sent out. This is for the economic revitalization strategy. The plan is to use the approved list of economic analysis vendors that community development received approval for from city council back in December. So again, Director Wally had some comments in, and we are open for feedback.
Yeah, I think for me, one thing that is missing here, or maybe it's not missing, but I have not seen it clearly, is the financial analysis of like how all of these for me, what I am trying to see is a plan that is outside the box. That is not like, oh, we have these empty labs and this is what we can do. But an analysis that go a little further and say, well, there is this empty lab, but next to this empty lab is this thing. Maybe it present an opportunity to create this a new lab, and this is and I want that analysis because it's more than just getting the labs that
The static information.
Saying that it will be important to have a financial status of each of the labs and each of the potential new lab. I think for me it's like what it will cost to create this new lab if we want it, right? Then it's also like, are these like, I want to have if information about like if these labs or these are like are delinquency and tax, how much they are, like all really detailed information. And I don't know, like, because what we want also is not numbers, like how much that plan will cost.
But I don't think they were going to do the plan in one fell swoop, right? And costs are going to change over time. So I guess what I would like to see is language included in the project objectives that make explicit what you just said, because I don't think it's explicit here. So like I got a bullet point that says, an examination of development opportunities that include both vacant lots, underused properties, and adjacent properties. To create, kind of destination locations or other kind of anchors that can drive economic development in downtown. I think we should also add a bullet point that a plan that includes the minimum number of new housing units, because we want to incorporate that idea, like where can we get this minimum number of housing units in as well. And I think if we don't put it as a bullet point, then it could be optional.
Yeah, and also like, can we also add a bullet point about having the financial information of these labs that are empty,
Right.
you know,
the current status.
like the current financial status of the potential labs that we can.
And maybe we want them to consider
Projections.
Well, I was actually thinking about your project around the vacancy tax.
Sure.
So considering the impact of the vacancy tax and whether or not that would be a good tool to help move kind of stagnant properties that are being underused into river. Like if they could have that as a deliverable too, to consider the vacancy tax and as if that's a good tool that we should move forward.
A couple of things that I included, so you'll see them in the notes, and I think we can expand on them. I added on page 6 where you can just, start up on that, or they would not only do the inventory of city property, but also the private property existing condition, financial condition, and the consultant would add an infrastructure assessment so that we already would know sewer, water, power, street, basic things that help for development. And then for the qualifications, also capitalizing on this, that we want somebody that's also more vested in understanding real estate development, funding and financing experience, public-private partnerships, so that they can have a bigger picture, but also agree with funding strategies.
I think like another thing that I have been noticing some is contamination, because sometimes like we don't know what if some of these slabs are contaminated, and that will have a cost. So like for instance, I heard that like the property on Garvin at 23rd, the building there, well, it has some contamination. So if we want to do housing, the cost will be like is actually different cost. So if we can add something around kind of like potential environment that this.
There's a basic knowledge of phase one, and so maybe that's under task would, under existing conditions assessment, we add a specific call out to make sure to include environment of
Potential contamination.
digital contaminated properties and their impact on financial. The cop is the worst, like the fever and the flu is all gone, but the cop is taken on.
Any others?
The other one on page one, when we talk about, RP talks about, I'm no, sorry, notes on page two, where it currently says maritime, industrial, and residential. I added in commercial, so that we get a much broader scope, right? And that, we know that we have some historical on page 4. So while they'll do an assessment of historical development proposals, there's quite a lengthy deep file of that. There's been the Perkins Will, the A.F. Evans, Olson Company, hometown development. So there's a lot to draw on, even though those are somewhat channels.
We ask you to actually create like a kind of potential historical assets map for the downtown.
They probably should research. We know that nothing's on the historical register currently.
I know that there's a list of potential ones that the Historical Preservation Committee has. And I think it would be beneficial if we kind of had an overlay of the downtown where we identified the potential historic buildings, right? That would qualify according to that existing.
Exactly. What could be Folks Mechanics Bank, 920, the Wells Fargo building and the Carquinez building. But how those should set into this plan exactly.
Well, I'm just saying that if we had as one of the deliverables, a historic overlay that could identify the buildings that have already been identified in that existing list. I forget what the list is called. The Historic Preservation Commission has it. And literally like an overlay so we can see where all those buildings are in just a one visual.
And those need to be evaluated as in terms of cost. Would it cost more to renovate or to tear down and rebuild?
And also from a vision. So we have our vision.
Yeah.
And then we look at what we consider a leapfrog situation. So when we get down to 7th and 8th and 9th, the city owns a lot, and then the next building is privately owned. The city owns a lot, and the next building is privately owned. So there was an interesting development analysis done by Perkins and Will about 13 years ago that looked at 8th to 9th, February to 8th, and Bissell to Macdonald. And it visioned all of those properties. So the Bank of America building, the old depository, as an example, being part of new development. So it's important to not only have those studies, but take a look at the vision because it's also attractive for a developer, right? That maybe they're going to build on 6,000 square foot lot versus, what's the opportunity here with some of these others? And that's where a lot of this public-private partnership can really step in. You know, it's been done many times in many cities that somebody has a building, but they're not able to bring it to what might be an improved asset and economic viability. But how does that work? What does that look like as part of the master plan? And that's really at our forefront here.
So would that analysis be in the RFP? That what you're sure?
First we would want to have the who owns what building. We know who owns what, but as part of the analysis, what's the condition? You know, is it in tear down condition, just so that we've got that.
Yeah.
The other thing to add in, I know we've got this a bit, which is on page 5, projected sales tax revenue, but I also thought that we should add in projected property tax revenue. And I'm watching what's happened in San Francisco where they've created these tax districts as a mechanism for infrastructure and redevelopment funding and financing. I think it's a good analysis to be had for a general, what does revenue look like? Based on different scenarios. And the last one I had a comment on page 10, so we have deliverables. And as Mayor Robinson spoke about, we and Councilmember Jimenez, we were looking at a 6-month draft. Right?
Yeah.
And we like that 6-month draft. So that would mean our time has got to go quickly. I think that we've got a list of on-call consultants, so that we're looking at a draft in 6 months while we're also in parallel, concurrently doing a lot of our other investigative work, so that we're all working in collaboration. And that when we have that in 6 months, we're able to add a lot of that detail in. And also work with them during the 6-month time period.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, is that we need to, in the timeline number 7, we need to add the 6-month draft.
Yes.
And we need to add also feedback one, that initial draft, community feedback. Because there's a comprehensive community feedback plan as one of the tasks, but we need to explicitly have it in the timeline that after we come out with the first draft, we want to get feedback on that draft from community.
Exactly.
All right. Any other, if not, then we are done.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
We are.
Get all that.